I was so close to getting a rare pairing with Jamar Chase from the 101, but the player that I really wanted, the rare pairing, went at pick 23. So didn't quite get there. So I decided to get weird on my own with a rare trio that does not get drafted together that often, and I think can still work out. I'll tell you about that in a minute after I run this DraftKings ad. This is your last chance to take advantage of the DraftKings Draft One, Get One promotion. I'm going to tell you about it right now, and in a minute, I'm going to tell you about how I got weird from the 1.01 after things didn't quite go my way. Football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. Across the whole season, every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count toward your quest for a share of $15 million. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 Best Ball lineup and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's two chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. So as of June 27th, when we got our last batch of DraftKings Millie Maker data, there were 15,108 drafts in the data that DraftKings released on June 27th. There are 14 players with an ADP in the top 100 who have just never been drafted with Jamar Chase because they just have never made it back to the 1-2 turn. Brock Bowers is the player who has been drafted with him, but drafted with him the least that has made it back there. Bowers has only made it back there 17 times, and then Ladd McConkey, through 15,108 drafts, has only made it back to the turn, or has at least only been drafted with Chase 38 times. I came so close here. McConkey goes at pick 23, falls up just short. So I looked at players that are just individually rare combos, rare pairings with Jamar Chase, and both Breece Hall and Davante Adams were near the top. So before running what the combo, how often the combo has been taken, I just decided to try it out. I picked Breece Hall and Davante Adams. Had to reach a little bit for both, but I think both are still really strong picks. I think both have high upside. So don't really hate reaching to get them to get this unique trio. The trio of Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, Davante Adams. I looked it up after I drafted it. Drafted just 6 times out of those 15,108 drafts. So pretty happy to get this trio that's only been drafted 6 times through 15,108 drafts. And then I go, since I've already got the rare trio, I went pretty standard with Joe Burrow at 48. Pair him up with Jamar Chase. Tet McMillan at 49. I think Tet is just going to see a ton of volume this year. I think the just receptions are going to carry Tet if he does score a lot of touchdowns. That's just icing on the cake. I think Tet is just a great play this year, should see a ton of volume. At 72, I went with Jauan Jennings. I'm not really that worried that he's going to hold out. I think he's just going to be the wide receiver 1 on a high-powered San Francisco offense. So I like Jauan Jennings quite a bit this year. David Montgomery, a player that honestly I'm a little bit underweight to, and I don't really want to be. He just came out, I think today, at least a quote came out today, that he is hungrier than ever. People are doubting him. People are forgetting that he's a big part of that offense. And I think he's just a good player. He's been a good player for a long time. Somebody that always feels a little bit boring to draft, but he's just good year after year. Detroit should be good. So happy to get DeMont at 73 as my second running back. Then Ricky Pearsall falls all the way to 96, which is, he's been going, 10 picks, 12 picks ahead of that most often recently. So to get Pearsall to fall to 96, I think a lot of people are kind of polarized between whether they like Jauan Jennings or Ricky Pearsall, or divided, I guess. There's a Jennings camp and a Pearsall camp, but both can certainly succeed, especially when you're getting Pearsall this far after ADP. So happy to get both. I thought about just taking Brock Purdy at 97. Get the stack there. I decided against it. Went with Emeka Egbuka instead. Get some rookie, some young blood on the team that is a lot of veterans for the most part. and then Purdy went at 102. So it did not get. I was hopeful that Purdy might come all the way back to me, but I wasn't really counting on it. Wasn't really expecting it, and of course he did not. The next turn, I was actually right here. I was thinking, all right, I'm going to take Justin Herbert and Trey Harris. That was the plan here. Drake May fell pretty far. I had a lot of plans that just kept falling through as I was getting closer to my turn. After Justin Herbert went, I had to make a quick decision. I decided to go for Tucker Kraft and Jordan Love. I'm a big fan of this pairing, just as a 1-2 that's a double click that's really easy to do. I'm a big believer in Tucker Kraft being a talented tight end. He clearly took over that tight end room from Luke Musgrave, who's pretty good in his own right. Tucker Kraft just beat him out for the job. And then Jordan Love, I think, has a lot of weapons. I think they're going to throw a lot this year in Green Bay. So happy to get those two together at 120 and 121 in what was kind of a quarterback run. Like quarterbacks have been flying off the board in this draft. So Jordan Love at 121 felt pretty good to me. Came back around. Dylan Sampson, just somebody I'm targeting right now. I picked 144. I think he could be the starting running back there in Cleveland. I've talked about it enough on these videos. I'm not going to go deep into it, but just with Quinshon Judkins potentially missing time, I think Dylan Sampson has an opportunity to show out and take that job. Ray Davis, it was between Davis and Bashal Tutin. I just have so much Bashal Tutin, and I like Ray Davis. I think he's a really strong play. So if I can get him a little bit past ADP like I did here, I think he's one of the better contingent upside bets on the board. So I like it in Ray Davis at 145. Jerome Ford, I already took Dylan Sampson. I'm getting this combo more than I would like to. I mean, I like both of them a lot individually. It kind of seems like I either get neither of them to fall to me or I get both of them to fall to me. Just a matter of whether the room is a fan of drafting Browns running backs, I guess. But at 168, I couldn't resist. I needed more running backs on this team. Only really have two like definite starters, so I got to mix in some players that should get some volume early. And I think Ford to me is still a pretty good value at 168. Hunter Henry as my tight end 2, just a strong, solid tight end pick. Elijah Arroyo I got at 192. Now I think I got ahead of myself a little bit with Elijah Arroyo. The first projection I saw on Arroyo was that he would be the tight end 16, I believe, which was to me kind of in line with what I expected based on reading his prospect profile. Like he, in the prospect profiles I've seen for the most part, seems more highly regarded than Mason Taylor, or at least very similar. And now he's should be the tight end 1 in Seattle, which should pass more than the Jets. So in my mind, I would expect him to be ranked ahead of Mason Taylor. But I don't think that is the consensus. Mike Clay has already updated his projections today. He has Arroyo as the tight end 27. So he actually has him a spot behind Mason Taylor, which means this is probably fair to draft him 192. So I wouldn't expect much more of a rise from here. I still think he could rise a little bit more. I do think that he's a pretty good best ball profile, because you look at his college numbers, a lot of his targets were 20 yards plus down the field, which is kind of a nice thing in best ball. You might have some more spike weeks than other tight ends, just have a long touchdown here or there, and he was just a good prospect. So I still like him as a tight end in this range. I still am willing to take him in the 15th round, maybe the 14th round sometimes if I want to do the Sam Darnold double click. But I'm now doubtful that he's going to be drafted ahead of Brenton Strange. I think I was getting a little bit ahead of myself with my expectation there. So I'm reining it back in, but I still think he's a really strong pick in this range. Happy to get him at 192 as my tight end 3 on a team where I didn't take one until pick 120. Emmanuel Wilson, talking to a friend of mine on Twitter, he's convinced that Emmanuel Wilson is actually the RB2 on Green Bay. And in this range, I don't really know what I want. ADP doesn't really matter anymore once you get to this range. So I was looking at the other options available. Marshawn Lloyd is one that I was actually considering, and I decided I've taken a ton of Marshawn Lloyd. I'm just going to take the other running back here because he might be right. Emmanuel Wilson was pretty good last year. Maybe he does earn the bigger role than Marshawn Lloyd as the RB2. So I go Wilson here onto my Green Bay stack. In the next round, Tutu Atwell, a player that Tom Stratton of the Fantasy Sanctuary talked about when I was a guest on their stream, talked about Tutu Atwell as one of his favorite sleeper picks, and I didn't really get it at the time. I was like, this guy, like, he's been a starter. He's been on the team for a long time. Toward the end of last year, still only running like 30% of routes. The team clearly doesn't seem that high on him. But then reading the coach speak a little bit closer, looking at his numbers last year, his yards per route run really strong last year. The coach speak is like, this guy is ready to explode. We're going to use him a lot more this year. It's all really positive. So I think Tom's right about Tutu Atwell. I'm buying in now. I'm jumping on the hype train for Tutu Atwell. Dontavian Wicks, just a fine bet in the late rounds, adding him on to my Green Bay stack. I think he's, he was the team leader in targets last year. If he can just stop with the drops, he would be very good. He's good in some metrics, very bad in others. So as a 19th round pick on a team where I have Jordan Love, feels like a pretty good pick there. And then finally, Eli Mitchell, another one where it's just he's on Kansas City, which if he can earn that running back 2 spot, and the latest from beat reporters is that Brashard Smith, it would be pretty unlikely that Brashard Smith wins the RB2 role. I talked to Kyle Dvorak about that, and he was saying, yes, that's true, but also the context is he's still going to have like packages, specific plays drawn up for him. But still, that means that there is probably a spot there for an RB2, somebody who would take over if Isaiah Pacheco gets hurt. And I think Elijah Mitchell is just better than Kareem Hunt. The team Coach Speak and Nick just posted something on Twitter today, a quote about Elijah Mitchell kind of following the same injury plan as I believe with Jerick McKinnon, and they're really hopeful that they can get him on there. And the coach speak is, yeah, he's really good if he can just stay healthy. We can keep him healthy. We think he can be a really great player, and I think so too. He was one of my highest drafted players last year at the point that he got hurt, and then I obviously stopped drafting him. But I believe in the talent with Elijah Mitchell, and he's on Kansas City. So if he just gets the opportunity, I think he could be awesome on Kansas City. So as a 12th round flyer, I decided to take a shot here. I think he is a pretty strong buy, somebody that is not drafted all that often. So the final team here is, again, did not get Ladd McConkey, but still made a pretty unique team here. I think it's a decent one. 2, 7, 8, 3. I go Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, Devontae Adams, Joe Burrow, Ted McMillan, Jawan Jennings, David Montgomery, Ricky Pearsall, Emeka Egbuka, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, Dylan Sampson, Ray Davis, Jerome Ford, Hunter Henry, Elijah Arroyo, Emmanuel Wilson, Tutu Atwell, Dontavian Wicks, and Eli Mitchell. I like this team. I think I'll give it the standard B+, not an amazing team, not like things falling exactly perfect for me, but getting unique here, I don't think really hurt the team all that much. I think it still has about as much upside as it would have if I took the standard T. Higgins McBride or whatever the standard ones are here. I get kind of bored with that start, with that turn at the 2-3. So tell me what you think of this team. Tell me where you think, this is what I really want to know. Where do you think Elijah Arroyo will end up settling in? I've already had the discussion a little bit on the video I posted earlier, but I'm curious to hear more opinions on where should he end up? Where do you think he will settle in? What will his ADP be when this contest closes? I'm curious to hear what other people think, because I think it should still be higher than it is right now, pretty significantly, but maybe not quite as high as Brenton Strange. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Please like it, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to get alerts when shows go live. All right, thanks guys. Catch you later.